All right, welcome to the presentation. Hank, you are now on.
Off we go. Okay, so I title this a sale making process because everyone who makes sales has a process that they like to work through that works for them. So if you're already a sale maker, you may or may not like this process, and that's fine. But you also may find something that you can add to your process, modify it to improve your sales. This is the first wooden ship model that I built. It's the Blue Nose, which is the famous Grand Banks fishing schooner. It was sold at that time as Model Expo as a entry-level kit. And Pat Roll, one of our former members, coached me through this build. The whole thing's his first one that I built. But he says, if you're going to put sails on it, he says, you're on your own. He says, I swore I would never put sails on a model that I built. And the wife says, the kid has sails, I want sails. So I had to figure out how to make sails. So I went online and did all the usual stuff through YouTubes and everything, and I came up with a process that works for me for making sails. So other sails that I've made, this is America, a good photo, but made all those sails, 4.5 sails. Willie Bennett has got a sail. I think some models just are better with sails, especially some of these smaller models don't have a lot of rigging, don't have a lot of detail to them. I think the sail really makes the model and brings your eye into it. That was Willie Bennett. The only square sails I've made is Osborg Viking ship and the mini Osborg. The only square sails I get. But the process is the same. Different size sail. Okay, so this is my own personal likes and dislikes about sail making. I like the Model Expo sailcloth. When I was doing my initial research on all this, there's a big thing about making sails was tinting them. People would soak them in tea and do some other things. I don't know if that's still a thing now or not, but I don't want to get into that. It's a nice off-white color. It's got some flakes in it and everything. It's easy to work with, and it's what they like. I have one project. This is an off-white. I have one project that I was thinking of doing that I was going to use sails that I really wanted a bright white sail on. So I did find online a roll of some cotton sail making material that I can make into that. And I haven't gotten it yet because I don't know if I'm still going to do that project. And I like fresh, tight taut sails, as you can see on the models that I showed there. I disliked. I don't like anything at all about silk span. I tried using that stuff and I just don't like it. It didn't work for me. Years ago, Marty gave us a presentation on making sails with silk spans, a 3-layer process of gluing and spreading it. Don't work. I don't like wrinkled or sagging sails on a model. The wrinkle, it seems like they need to come off and get ironed, get put back on. Most sewn sails, and one of the things I found in our initial research was somebody said that you really can't stitch to the scale that you build a model at, which may be true or not true. I don't know. I have seen some sewn sails where the stitching was real small and it looked pretty good. For the most part, I haven't seen anything like. And sails that come in a kit, they don't do anything. I got these really wide, zigzaggy stitches on them and everything, and heavy edges, and I just don't like it. That's my difference. Okay, so the materials for building sails in this process: a couple of stiffeners, some paper, a couple of glues, and a piece of foam core or equivalent, because you'll be sticking pins in the sail to hold it in place while you're working on it. So you're also going to need a backlight source, something that you can trace on any kind of window, door, light table. All right, so the stiffeners. This stuff, stiffen stuff, it's a fabric stiffening spray used by makers of different kinds of crafts things. And for this process, I use this for stiffening the sails. Michaels and Hobby Lobby sell it, and Hobby Lobby is called Stiffy. And this stuff lasts on a shelf. I've had it over 10 years, and it's still viable, still works. Matte medium, this is another stiffener. It's used by artists when after they stretch the canvas, they paint this stuff on to get it really stiff before they start painting whatever they're going to paint on it. And in this process, I use it for stiffening the edges of the sails as a fold over I've been talking about. You get that in any supply store, and again, its shelf life's like unlimited. Sobo glue. This stuff is great. It's a craft glue used for any kind of fabric or fabric project that you're doing. It's got a really pretty quick initial set and a pretty fast dry, and it's really clear when it dries. So I use this on the process for any of the gluing of the edges, bolt ropes, reef lines, and everything else. But it's really good. I've used it for making rope coils. After you make your coil of rope, paint a little bit of this on there, dilute it, and it dries really clear. It might have a little bit of sheen to it, but you can use that as the backside. You can also just use this glue for gluing the rope coil to the deck. And it's kind of flexible, so you can bend it over a belaying pin pretty good after you make the coil. Do it while it's wet and stick it over there. So this is really good stuff. You can only used to be able to get this in Joann's or some other places. The only place you can get it right now is online. And it lasts a long time. I was getting down about this much in a bottle, and it was getting kind of thick, and it wasn't diluting real good. So I get another one while I could.
Question, you said online only. Where do we get it online?
Just look up Sobo glue, and they'll come up with sources. I'm not sure if I got it through Amazon or if I had to get it through somebody else or something. It's a really good glue to have on your adhesive collection. Okay, so the stiffening stuff, you can put on successive layers and get it as stiff as you want. If you want it looser or tighter, just keep working it up. I use about 3 applications, and each one takes about an hour to dry. Spray pumpy thing and throw that out. Just it works better just pouring some in a little cup and just painting. The sailcloth kind of porous, so it'll paint right through. You only have to do it on one side. Matte medium is much stiffer initially, so if you know you want something really stiff, you might be able to just stiffen it up with the matte medium, and you might go with the layers of the stiffness. Depends on what you're trying to do and what kind of works for you. Okay, so the process. So step 1, make a paper template of the sail that you want to make, so you have something that's a lot easier to work with. Stitching lines you can simulate with a pencil. If you don't want to show the stitching lines, we'll just leave them. Again, any big pressure with a pencil is going to determine how bright the line is. Okay, so once you get it transferred to a piece of paper, add 3 millimeters to the edge all the way around. That's what's going to fold over, and it really stiffens the edge, gives you a thicker edge to be able to attach the bolt rope through, and also it's thicker to where you can push a sail needle through it to make a decent hole for putting your rigging lines. So we'll be doing that. Okay, so now you prepare the sailcloth. You cut out a piece that's bigger than what you need, about the shape that you want, and you start stiffening. This is where paint on the stiffening, and while it's still wet, it won't adhere to the wax paper, but it kind of gets a little sticky, and it can pick up some of the sheen from it. So while it's wet, for each coat you put on, just peel it up off the paper and put it back down again and let it dry. It takes about an hour. And if you do get some sheen on there, a little bit of fine sandpaper will take it right off the sail. Then, of course, it's going to come out wrinkled after you put the stiffened stuff on there and get stiffer, so naturally you have to go and iron it out on an iron board. Okay, so now you take your paper that you have your lines on, attach that to your light source, cover it with the sailcloth, and trace all the lines on it. Once you get all your lines traced onto that, take the paper away, flip the sailcloth over, and draw the lines on the other side. So you got lines on both sides of the sail. Okay, so now we create the fold over. You've got your 3 millimeter edge on there. So stiffen it with the matte medium, and then using dilute Sobo glue. And Sobo glue dilutes easily with water. Just make it as dilute as you want, and it still has its adhesive characteristics even when diluted. Take that over, smooth it down, and you've got the fold over part. So, attaching the bolt rope. You want to start in the middle of the sail, and you want to start with a good flush cut because you'll be coming around and making a butt joint at the end. So you want the two ends to meet together pretty well. So you brush some of the dilute glue along the edge of the sail and lay the line across it. I didn't put it in a picture here, but this is what you can use pins to push down into the substrate there and just push the line against the sail. Just kind of hold it a little bit. It has pretty quick, like I say, initial set on it. While that's setting, you can get the back end of an Exactum lifted up a little bit off the paper once it's had a few minutes to set already, so that the glue doesn't try and stick to the wax paper. It doesn't stick real well, but it's easy to pull it up from there. And then you just work your way around. It only take you 5 to 10 minutes on each section that you're going to put some glue on, wrap it around, pin it to into the foam core, hold it in place, and work your way all the way around on that. Catch it on the final end there. So once the rope's in place, there's going to be gaps. I'm always going to have gaps, so you may or may not. But just take some more glue and just brush it into the gaps, wipe it off a little bit. You can see in the upper left corner there, a Q-tip there. I use a lot of Q-tips, doing glue and cleaning and stuff. So,
Excuse me, Hank, is the rope underneath the edge or is it glued on top of the
it's
edge?
glued right on the edge.
Okay, so it's on top of the folded over seam.
Yes, on the top.
Thank you.
All right, so now we do the reef lines. So you take whatever kind of line that you want to use for making those and take down one corner, and I use a CA thin glue there. That little glue handle thing, that's a little disposable brush that you get. Just paint some extra lines here with that to get it really stiff and hard, and it dries real quick. Once it's done, then you cut it up into the pieces that you want to use and bend them over, and that's going to be your reef lines. Then you make holes in the sail for where you want to put the reef lines, and you run them through and put a piece of tape down on each side, holding it down, because you're not going to glue the whole thing down there. Just put a dab of glue in the holes that you've made with the line there. Let that set up, and then just peel off the tape, and that allows your line some flexibility. You can bend them around. Sails on a ship aren't all straight down and parallel. They kind of swing all over, so it takes care of that. And that glue's really clear, so you're not going to see any of that. You do that on both sides, put a little glue on there. And there's the finished sail. And here's the finished set of sails for Willie Bennett. Same process. Okay, so scratch build sails. So I put up a picture of Willie Bennett here because when I made the model and I made the first sail according to what was on the plans there, attached it to the boom and the mast, and the main boom, it was cranked up at too high an angle. And I looked at it. I was building this as a gift, so I figured, well, I'm not going to have to look at it all the time. Maybe I'll just leave it. But then I say, well, nah, I can't really leave it. So I wound up having to make another sail and a scratch build one to figure out what angle I needed to be able to fit it in that space there. So scratch build, obviously figure out what sail size and shape you want, make a template of it with either paper. I used parchment paper on the one for Willie Bennett because that sail was so big and it was just easier in that paper, and it took me a couple of tries. A lot easier with paper than with cloth to figure out and try it once or twice there. So I used the parchment paper for that. And then you just follow the same process of making the sail. Okay, so furled sails, I haven't done any. I tried once when I was still trying to work with silk span, and I didn't like the way that stuff rolled or folded or anything. So, but while I was researching how to make that, I did find a tip that if you're making furled sails, maybe just make the sail half size, so you don't have as much to roll up onto a yard, which kind of makes sense. And if you're using a sailcloth, you may not need a stiffener since you're rolling it. You probably don't need the edges, because that's going to be stiffer and harder to roll. And you do want something maybe just along the edge that you're going to attach it to a yard, roll it up to. Like I said, haven't done it. That's all, folks.
I'll say that I bought a travel iron to iron my sails because travel iron is about this big,
Uh-huh.
and so you can still hold and work your sail without a big huge iron. You know, trying to iron a sail that big.
Yeah, mostly I do that because I have a bigger piece. That's the initial cut after the stiffer stuff. But yeah.
If you get glue on your wife's iron, she's not.
Well, that was that too.
Well,
That,
there's no glue. When I was ironing the sail, that was after the stiffer, so there was no glue on it. Right? Just a small cross. I wasn't in any danger there. Anything else?
Well, why did you decide that the sales that come with kits was where you know we're seeing kits come from Spain, from Italy, from France. At least I am, and some of them are beautifully done. You know, with fine edges and markings on them.
Well, like I said, that's a personal dislike. And the
Simply
ones that I've
personal?
seen, the ones that I've seen, the kits that I've gotten that came with sales, they just didn't meet my expectations of what I would want on my model. I really haven't seen any model those kit sales on them that I liked. Again, personal preferences.
Would you talk about the folding over 3 millimeters? Or what, how did you do that?
Well, okay, so you add 3 millimeters all the way around. I figure that up with that as a size that just makes it easy to fold over. And then stiffen it with just that 3 millimeter sticking up part. Put some glue on that and just fold it over and press it down. That's your edge. It gets a little tricky when you start laying it over. When you come up to the corners, you have to cut around, make a fold over, or 2 pieces there. Have either a butt joint or an angle joint or something. Scissor and glue it down. Otherwise,
You ever tried stitching on the boat ropes?
I stitched mine on. I didn't.
yeah, I don't sew, so I don't.
It's a
Time consuming.
It's a very time-consuming, tedious process to do this stitch.
This is pretty fast and it works well and it stays. I've got models that are 10 years old, but it's still just hanging in there. Anyway, anybody else?
All righty, very good.
All right.
Oh, great,
Very
thanks.
nice. Thank you.
Thanks again.
All right, with that, we'll roll into the